Hi, everyone. Okay, so let's go over our agenda. We have quite a lot of things to do, so we want to make sure that we complete this week with the dev preview version working well. So let's start with the updates and the agenda. We should be careful with times because we don't have a lot of time, and we do want to be getting to the end, I think, of the agenda. So I will keep my updates empty, and Nimrod, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll do it fast. So we want to release call 5.5 and operator to the 3, which is the corresponding branch. Tomorrow, Danny, you'll be able to pick up the release, right? Brew for the CLI, operator, whatever's needed. I'll handle the core side.
Sure, no problem. I'll handle this.
Okay, great. Some updates on PRs that we discussed. So the encryption PR that we've been discussing is up. You have the link here. The Prometheus PR by Ohad. The core part is merged. The operator part is being reviewed as we speak. I specifically am waiting for Paul's PR with the fixes to the reads and head. I want to backport it back to the 5.6 branch. Just a small FYI regarding the operator, we moved to work with Go 115, so you might want to update your local dependencies. And we are expecting the Postgres PR with all the stores and all the unit tests working next week, by the end of next week. That's it. Try to keep it fast.
Yeah, just adding to this, so just a tad on the versions. So core 5.5 is before any of the caching changes,
Yes.
but it is being released upstream so that we have some baseline for this is the stable release. And the 5.6 branch, we are waiting for PRs, but all of the other things you mentioned are for the 5.7 branch, basically, for the master, right?
Yes.
So
none of these, not the encryption, not the Prometheus, will be backported. Yeah, and not, of course, not Postgres as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's good. Any questions on the status? Okay. Any updates from you, Girish, maybe Mathieu? I don't know if he's on the call. I didn't see. Or we can go on as well if you don't have any specific updates from your team.
Yeah, Matthew is off today. I don't have any specific updates for you unless you have a specific question I can try and answer.
No, that's good. Okay, so let's see the agenda. So what we have to do today is we have 2 PRs to cover. That we want to have merged by the end of the week so that we can backport. I'm not really sure if you said anything more about before end of week or any specific timing, but
well, the fix, the 6167, which is the fix to the reads and heads, I'd be happy to get it. It's more of a priority because it breaks the reads for a normal namespace, so I'd be happy to get it before. But it doesn't have to be by the end of the week. I'm just
okay.
I'd be happy to get it before the second one. It's more important.
I see. So give us some time frame. What is the time frame where we should complete what is being backported?
So basically, if you talk about backporting into the branch, we have something like 2-3 weeks. But
okay. It's good because we don't have any pass for backporting anything. But what I'm trying to say is about timing, just to understand. Okay. So we will push it this week because that's what we want to do.
The fix is breaking namespace, normal namespace, not just the cache flow. So we want.
I understand. It's okay. So that's unrelated. I was just thinking about the version as a whole. But okay. So that's for the 2 PRs we want to cover. and there were these topics raised. So testing for the preview. I think Mathieu asked me about this, maybe, or I think so. That what will we cover, or make sure that we cover what we want. So I think it somehow, maybe not covered by the demo, but somehow, or some part of it. And Paul wanted to discuss deployment. So let's see. Let's start with the first PR, which is critical, then see how much we can push the second one, and go from there. So I'm jumping to this. I think I reviewed, I did post another review that I was trying to explain some questions that I had when I was reading it. Paul, did you have a chance to take a look at this?
Yeah, I actually take a look at it. I understand the two in a fixed style, but
Yeah.
one, I don't know what, you probably have to elaborate more, on
Okay,
the,
so
on the first one.
let me take 5 minutes, try to explain what I thought might help, but it's not that I have all the pieces, because it's about somehow moving things which are spread out to some like single place. So I didn't cover all the places, I think. Let me show you for a second. So we are looking at, let's start from this branch. And yeah, so look at this. What we are trying to do here is this. We are trying that object MD size will always be the object size, right? That's what we are trying to do. And the way that we're doing it is this. Every request that returns a content range, we will use it to, we will basically split the content range and take it from like the total bytes of the object. So then we are supposed to know whatever was the request, whether it had a part number, had a range, whatever the case is, we can tell the complete object size. So that's relatively easy when there is a range or a part number in the request.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's the content length. And the other case is just for lists. Like for lists, this is the case that works. So this is being used both in lists and in head like get head operations for the info. So now when we're looking at content length, the content length is trying to replace what we are setting for content length header. But the thing that I think is weird is how we set content length header. So we don't just set it to what the object MD returns. We have more ways of setting it back. So let me show you. Where do we do that? So this is S3 util, I think. Right, so this is one, right, which is if we return it, which is only namespace S3 for that matter, then we use that. But otherwise, we just use the size. And then this is in many cases incorrect, because if we are using a ranged read, it's not really the size that we want to return here, but it will be overridden, and that's the weird thing about it. And then after we call this, if we go back now to S3 get object, you'll see that we might overwrite the content length and range when we are handling a ranged read here.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this comes to solve the problem where namespace NB didn't return content length for the requested, range or whatever. And because that's the case, we handled it right here, right, for everyone. But now the handling with namespace S3 becomes a little bit weird. So maybe what we're saying here is this: we want the namespace, right? Or we want this to be able to infer the range and length, or maybe a new function, doesn't matter really. Like, I think it's okay to just to have it inside here, that content length is just a property that, you know, the namespace returns, and this will be we'll set it on the response, and then it just becomes the responsibility of the namespace to set to the correct, you know, to the correct number.
Yeah.
And then in some way, this logic will get, I mean, not all of it, but I mean, I think this will be pushed into, you know, something like object IO or somewhere where the NooBaa NB namespace NB is you know, calling to return the content length based on the request, which is, yeah, what did you want, this range or not? Okay, so that's what I think. I think it's a bit complex to refactor, but it is somewhat complex also now, because there's too many places trying to handle that differently, and then we need to understand which one will override which, the other one. So in some way, after we do what we do with content length, we are still getting here in the case of ranges. So yeah, this is, you know, in the range header, right, case. So we are still using a different logic to set the content length of this response.
Mm-hmm.
This is, you know, a little bit weird, right? I'm not saying it's impossible to have it correct, but so what I think is, let's keep it off this PR because it's more of a refactor case, and we're probably not going to get it done super tight on time like this. So let's just take a look at the first comment. On the second comment, was it?
Yeah, second comment, I understand. That's just a one-line change. I think what you mean is, like, if part number is set, right, we shouldn't do a get object anymore, just do a head, right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's critical for namespace, like we, so we can push it to the other PR if that's.
Yeah, that one is fine. I understand it. I don't think, yeah, I already made a change, just haven't pushed it. Just for the second bullet, the second comment you have.
Yeah, I think it's an easy fix, but I was just it's only for the case that part number is supplied, and it will cause very weird behavior, but you know, it's not a very common case, so I'm not very worried about it.
Okay.
So anyway, it's a small fix, I'm sure still. And I think otherwise, you know, this is the fix we probably want to push at this point until we have a better suggestion for how to resplit this ownership of how to calculate this content length.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's kind of I got your point. Yeah, my opinion is to have it done a separate story, separate PR, because that probably require, like, really figure out all the other places to see, you know, how we're going to move these how going to set content range.
It will take some time to just figure it out the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think other than this, if you want to update the PR, and we can approve it and push the fix, and I'm sure it will be, we'll have some regression running for it, for namespace at least. For caching, we should also run some testing. Okay.
Yeah, so I will address your second issue. Push that after this call.
Sure, that's great. Okay, that's good. So we are going to the next one. The second PR is, let me change the view. Right. So I think I posted some things which might be irrelevant. Maybe
Yeah,
we've.
I thought I should have all resolved. I just need to double check. I should have all.
Okay, so I see this outdated. This one is complete params, right? And this one is separating between async versus sync versions of it. And this one is really just a thought. Maybe it's not really a failure that much anyway, but it's really not critical. So let me just go over it. Right, so we're pushing that to create and complete, right? I'm guessing, but I'm pretty sure. Oops, yeah, this is complete. And then this is submitting the upload, and right here it's last modified time as a time. So that's upload params, and this will be here. I see it picked for the create params, I suppose, right? That's good. And then this is overriding it. Oh, is this?
No, this is still create parameter, right? We pass in last modified time since we know it right at this moment. We just.
But if it was supplied, it's from.
Oh, that is a good question. Let me see. Yeah, I don't have to. I don't have
to check first. If not, I mean, but actually, we don't want to set it always. I mean, you don't have to. That's
no. It's actually not supplied. The reason I put in there just try to see, otherwise the note, the studio code complains about last modified time is unknown parameter. The reason I put it there, pick, actually just try to get rid of the warning of Visual Studio Code.
I see. I see.
Yeah, the basically still the line 315 still needed.
Yeah, I see. Well, we can make the type checker be happy, but we need to take this out anyway, right?
No, we still need that.
Why do we need this?
Like you can take out the 310. We don't need that because last modified time the narrow side. It does just for make VS Studio Code happy, so that it thinks the create parameters has last modified time. Otherwise, it give you a warning on that.
Maybe so. I missed it. I'm sorry. Trying to figure out. You're saying that in this path we're not sending it. It's not.
No. The parameter we are not setting it. In the parameter.
I see. Oh, so you're saying this one you added for the type. Okay.
Yeah, for the type purpose. Then you can remove that one, but the 315 definitely need that. Yeah.
No, so I see the point. So you're saying it's only to get the types. So either it's not really critical because just make a comment about it. I think would just make it clear.
Yeah.
Why it's there.
Okay.
Okay, in this case is last modified time again for upload params, which is just a different path being submitted here. And right here is where we're sending the async.
Yeah.
Okay, and here we can await the hub promise, get the upload response, and return it. Perfect. It looks good. Okay. Right, and this is the hook. So we're setting. And right here is picking for the create.
Yeah, this one is a pick.
Actually,
pick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I imagined it. It's yeah. Okay. Oh, so this is the complete, but where? Oh, where is the create one? The create was in.
Create in the where's the create one? Create only happen on the range read case. Okay.
But you didn't have to pass it to create. You have to have this here, right? In the create.
Yeah,
upload.
this is, yeah. If I search for range read.
Oh, so it came from here, right? So
Yeah,
we already set it. I see.
Yeah.
But don't we need to pick it there as well?
We need to pick which one, which
when we do an upload here
Oh,
for create params.
Create parameter. No, that create is just for partial object case. Okay. So that create partial object is done in the namespace cache.js file. So if I go navigate to that namespace cache, search for create object upload, the last modified time is set there. Okay. So that if I don't know, because it doesn't show the create object upload. Maybe just if you look at the entire source code or this one, okay, yeah. So the line 315 is that set for range read case. It's a partial object.
I see.
Okay.
So it's okay. I would still I would keep it there just for. I mean, I would add it to create params as a pick. I mean, of course, optional if it's sent. But just for completeness, it just seems if somebody would send it because it's expected to be there, we better just pass it. I don't think. You see what I'm saying? But
no, not really. What?
Here, I think this one should be added here as well. I can't add it, but
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Maybe just for the future purpose. Even though right now it has been it's not.
Yeah, for I would say for symmetry.
Yeah.
Just okay. Good, and I think that was the hook. We talked about this one, and now we are right. So this one was a very a nitpicking comment, just saying. I mean, maybe it's not really like not having a size, because we are allowing not having last modified time in an object, right? It's a valid object that has just create time and not last modified time. And in this case, maybe we just want to do more like what we do here, which is if I got this, then no, this is what you do here. I meant what we do somewhere here, like this, right? If we got something, set it, right? And not really fail if it's not supplied on complete upload. Because I agree, we are setting it when we are completing the upload. We are setting it unconditionally in the namespace cache case. I'm just saying that it didn't seem like we have to require it in this level. So it's for your decision. It's really not. It's not really going to make any difference in the code. It's about contracts of the API, basically. If you feel like it's easier to code when it's like a mandatory thing, it's okay.
Yeah,
if you feel like it's orthogonal,
yeah. Right now, I feel like it's a mandatory. I haven't think about the scenarios which that one is not set. Okay, at least in the caching cases, it should be always set. Last modified time.
Yeah, right. So that's what we decided to do for the cache at this point. I'm thinking, let me think. I don't know. I don't have a good example. I'm not sure. We need to dig an example for now. It's okay. We can move it. So I think it's good to go as well. It looks like it's good. We just have a tiny bit of comments, and let me submit this and resolve the other ones, and we can follow up after the call and merge it as well. I think it's pretty clear. So right. Okay, that's good. Any other questions about these two PRs from someone on the call, or we can go on? Okay. What are these things? I think we covered these as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the agenda. Okay. So that's done. Let's see. What are the considerations we want to? So let's think about the next. I think maybe 2 weeks from now, and put some target for us on, how much we want to cover cases and how much we are capable of running some different levels of tests, and then maybe this will give us some validation about how much this version is going to be usable, right? How much we are going to end up with people waiting for the next version versus really being able to use this one. So I think it's a matter of question. I mean, I said that my plan is to run the high-level demo script. I mean, I don't think I'm going to add any test cases for more of the unit test level or any of the inner behaviors like eviction or things like that. But I really want to get like the usability thing working, see that it all adds up to something that is usable first of all, and then working functionally, right? Doing what we expect. So I will see that eviction actually works, but I mean, it's not really an easy demo, but I will try to make that somehow shown. And that's roughly it. I mean, I think it's very functional. I want to go and finish that maybe with you soon, but that's my plan in regards to testing in the next 2 weeks. Maybe you guys, from each one from his perspective, can share what is the capability to run some tests on this version, on the feature in the next 2 weeks, and then we can sort of figure out what's the status. Nimrod, Paul, someone?
I can go first. So like we discussed, I think something like 2 months ago or something, we are not going at this point, we're not adding any automation tests. We are going to mostly test the happy path manually, set the caching, see that it works. That's about the extent of it. Again, it's a dev preview feature, and that's what we can do at this point.
So what would be the coverage of it? Let's just for the sake of everyone. So, for example, using an S3 with OCS, with an OCS, for example, on RGW as a backend. I mean, as a hub.
I'm pretty sure it would not be on a full-blown OCS because of resources that we are lacking. So it will be a NooBaa standalone on top of AWS, probably, not RGW, with a local PV as the backing store for the data bucket. That's the setup. Anything else?
So I think I was thinking if the only thing I could wish is that we can run one test on RGW S3 as a hub. The question is if you think this is reasonable to push in the next 2 weeks.
No, due to resource constraints, not people, but systems.
Okay. So you're saying none of these tests will ever get to run on a cluster.
They will get when we productize them to be a part of OCS. They will be run on a full load.
Yeah, of course. I mean, development. Yeah. Okay.
So what is the local storage in here? Even for like up Ceph, you're going to use a PV local storage with PV
The storage,
pool.
yeah.
But where's the PV pool come from? Does it come from the host path or local, or come from Ceph as well, or where?
So yeah, so I think this is where the local, I mean, the storage as a whole for caching and for is something pretty flexible. You can, we allow to choose from anything we connect to, right? And now the question is, what setups will be built from this? And like one of them, I suppose, will be based on OCS kind of setup, how OCS will set up this. And I think it might be that OCS will set it in one way, but will allow changing it, right? So I think OCS has defaults for these things, and usually when we set up OCS, we take so the multi-cloud gateway NooBaa buckets are backed by default by an RGW backend storage, which is then backed by Ceph OSDs.
Depending on the platform, right?
Yes, of course. So yeah, thanks. So that's correct. I mean, when we are looking for OCS as a standalone kind of on-prem or bare metal deployments, right? That's where that sort of world lives. And in these cases, we are using Ceph as the storage layer, and the RGW. RGWs provide the protocol layer for it, and that's local storage as well, right? So it will provide performance comparable to other local storage from Ceph, of course, with some differences between models. I'm not sure which model will be the best one to test with. I think it's a matter of experimenting a little bit with systems and different environments. And to Nimrod's comment, I think the other cases is where we are looking at deployments in the cloud, and in these cases, the default is typically the local storage in that cloud, whether it's AWS S3 or Azure Blob or GCS, and then this provides locality for default setups. I think that's the meaning for OCS, to just have some good default setup, and it will allow customizations, of course. So you would be able to, your question, Paul, you would be able to use it with a PV pool that allocates host path. I mean, not just host path, but like local volumes, right? If that's something desirable, it's totally possible, and and it will have some characteristics of the solution for it. I mean, it will change how that solution behaves in different ways, right? So it will cut some of the stack, but it will probably have less capabilities in, maybe resiliency of the entire stack in the same manners. I'm not sure, right? It will have a different solution to it. But on that aspect, I think OCS is doing a good job in productizing these options separately, so that we have the backing stores being productized and PV pool is being productized, so that we sort of have support for it in different ways, and then it's a matter of either using defaults or customizing to some specific use case. Okay. So I'm not hearing a lot of capacity for for more tests, right? So it seems like we will have roughly this high level versus the automated tests that that were added, and I guess that's it at this point for this version, right? Okay. Let me just write the notes here. So we're going to have a high level demo script. And we're going to run the okay. Let's go on to the next topic. Paul, do you want to take 10 minutes and discuss this?
Please not discuss, just for my general knowledge learnings. So when I especially for the deployment, it's a broad topic, but I'm particularly interested in right now is how the routing works. So usually, how when the noobaa is deployed right on the cluster, is there a ingress or load balancer sitting in front? How the traffic routing goes in general. Just try to understand.
So there is some difference here between OpenShift and Kubernetes, which I think we are lacking a little bit in Kubernetes setting up Ingress. We did not set up Ingress. So it remains somewhat of a manual operation, which is too bad. We have an issue on that actually, but we didn't address it yet. And on the other hand, for OpenShift, since we started from there, we added routes for OpenShift, so it's going to be accessible on OpenShift. But on the like, if we still go to the simple ways, in most cases you can just access the if you use Minikube for sure, but in any case where you have your node network available, you can just access any service like through the node network. So if you have your nodes IPs and you can connect from your clients directly to that node IPs, it works. So that's how we usually do with Minikube. Basically, we just connect to the node IP of the machine, of the VM that runs Minikube, or if it's if it's driverless sort of Minikube on Linux, then you can just connect locally, and then you can just do localhost and anyway. So the node network provides access by default, but it's not very easy if you're trying to consume node network from the cloud. You need to be in the same network, virtual network, with the client machines as well.
Okay. So you mentioned the issues with the regular Kubernetes. What issue is that you got trying to resolve? Just trying to understand.
The issue I meant, I think that we have a request, right, for a new capability, which is to include Ingress in when we set up NooBaa. I think, let me see if I can find it. I remember there was Ingress, but maybe noobaa-core for some reason. Yeah, I think this one. So he did post his Ingress, but we didn't get to automated. So let me share that as well for you in the doc. So
So for OpenShift, they use I remember they use HA proxy by default, right? For the controller, for the Ingress controller. That's what generally is used. Or is that right? For OpenShift.
again,
For OpenShift, is that HA proxy? Is the HA proxy the controller for Ingress? Like
you're asking how did OpenShift
yeah, in general, when you set up
route the
request,
requests?
that route is supported by some kind of Ingress controller.
I can answer that, guy.
Yeah,
if you
please.
would like. So in OpenShift, there is a component called Ingress controller, basically. It's different than the one that is installed on master's node on Kubernetes, just because it was enhanced to also handle the notion of routes. Basically, routes are older than Ingress. They were in design-wise, but it's the same component that serves both. But in usual OCS deployment, most products use routes to expose themselves.
Okay.
Did you mean to ask Paul about how a request gets proxied or?
Yeah. In general,
routed?
like since you guys has experience in deployment in the real world, right? I try to understand what problem you guys facing when deployment, especially from performance perspective. More interesting like the Ingress part, routing part, how the traffic gets routed to the endpoint, right? And such things. Just trying to understand in general because.
I can also add a little bit on that. We use something called the re-encrypt policy on our routes, which basically means that every packet that comes from outside is decrypted and then re-encrypted with a different SSL key. Now, we know from tests that were done inside some performance testing that this might be a problem. So we have the option to disable this re-encryption. I don't know if this will help you in any way, but it shouldn't be done unless it is the bottleneck.
Let me take it a step back from this. I agree, this is correct. I think when you are actually looking for any performance, you would probably not look at the load balancing and routing and Ingress whatever as the only answer. And I think there are multiple answers, and a lot of them involve taking it a step back and using some enterprise solutions and whatever. But put that aside, we're not unique in that, right? We are just a service, and like any other service here in Kubernetes. And I think that the main point that we should look at is that so we are serving the locally best, right? So if you use the service from within the cluster network, that's where you probably want your applications to get the locality and performance, right? If you're really trying to create some service for external servers or external systems, then I think it's more challenging, right? I agree, and I don't think we are experts in how to build that with Kubernetes yet, but there are people who can comment on that. I'm not sure we got to these kind of subtleties of networking and all these specifics. So, as I said, we should focus on applications running side by side, right? Yeah, and using the same cluster network. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. And let me just use the last few minutes here to go over the script. I just want you to be able to comment and maybe give some pointers about what you think is more important versus others. Let me go back to this doc 1 second. Okay. Okay. Binding rod. So you see the script? You see my screen? The script is about starting with an installed NooBaa on Minikube, which is one of, we have like a guide for that if you want to take a look. But so you know, we start from that. That's the starting point. I don't want to repeat that too much in the demo. I think it's clear that we have that. Now we do need to set up local storage, and my suggestion is to just use something that we can always easily run on that Minikube wherever we are, and that's what I typically use. Just use a PV pool from default. Minikube usually uses some host path or something like that, so it's pretty sensible to use. It's not too complicated. And then we sort of need to create. It seems like we need to create a tuple, like 3 things here. Like at least for the 3 very different things that I wanted to achieve here. But we need external connection, namespace resource, and a cache bucket. And with that, since I won't be really reusing maybe the connection or the resource. No, I mean the resource probably not, but the connection much in this demo. I think it's just about creating 3 connections, namespace, resource, and buckets. So I want to show sort of that we can cover these use cases and make sure that it works in some way. That's probably what I wanted to do. For dataset, I probably want to make to move that to the dataset piece, but I think we can use the dataset from 1,000 genomes. It's pretty good. It's pretty easy to consume. It's a public AWS bucket that you can use. It has like lots of terabytes of data. So, and I have a list somewhere which I can post about the different prefixes there and how much data they hide, so that I used to enumerate it to get the size. So you can choose a sizable data set for the case. And what I wanted to do is just have around 10 times more data in the hub than space on cache, so that it will be somewhat of a reasonable test. Right, so it might be like maybe 300 gigabytes on the hub versus 30 gigabytes locally or something like that. And then I want to, so the first, maybe I would do like to be case. So the first case will be to show something very concrete. Maybe take this one. And I just want to show that, you know, I can read something that fits into the cache size, and I read it once, I get some performance time, and then read again and record the time. Something very simple. Okay, that's the first case, and I think another case would be to show that this still works when I have something else reading through the entire data set, right? That would be like my ultimate way of showcasing caching, right? That I can still run this repeated test that keeps reading this data set, like this small, relatively small data set, and on the background I can run through and read the entire data, which will, you know, essentially try to flush the cache all the time. But by rereading the data, I'm keeping it warm, and I'm sort of seeing the system doing everything at once, right? I think that's the ultimate case, I would call that. And now I'm going to run another client that reads through all the data of the hub, trying to flush the cache. But, oops. But we want to see caches stronger than this. And the other sort of sequential or the full hub reader. Okay. These were the two extreme points I thought about. What else? Is there anything else you think has is important to cover? Or I mean, I'm not really, showcasing partial reads here. I'm not showcasing any of what else, like any of policies. Yeah.
Another thing is maybe someone say try to get really large object, but we have the limit none. That's going to depend on whether we have enough room, right, to store the cache. So that's things probably you may have to watch out for large object reads.
Yep.
It's always may not be cached at all. Okay, that's just one thing.
Yeah. So I think we might get to revise some of these decisions, right? I mean, by defining this, I'm less sensitive to how how much we really completed the fine details of the code. I'm really trying to validate this by just showing things that I think are valuable to. I mean, I think the first case is just like a sanity thing, and the second, like this one, will really tries to show that it's rounded and handling the whatever is happening in the background. I think that's what I was trying to deliver here. And if it doesn't, I mean, if we have some like very weird spots in the code that we are doing some things with which we want to revise, it's good to know. I mean, it's okay if the demo is not perfect, and then we know of more things to fix, right? Okay, I'll think about partial reads. About demo. Any other thing you think we should demo? We can also demo different backing stores, like using using local storage on AWS, for example, without EBS and things like that. Or I don't think it's really critical for the first demo. I think this is something we want to show. Well, maybe TTL, maybe that will be just something to touch, like showcase this over the demo, like consistency. Like I could set a TTL to say like 2 minutes, and then show how eventual consistency works.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good. Regarding, I don't know whether you would like to show the things since there's regarding consistency. whether we like to show, for example, we read cache bucket, cache object, while it's some other clients uploading the same one, just replacing it. So just make sure.
I would probably, I mean, you see that for the demo, I'm trying to focus on because I probably won't be able to do all of these cases, but I'm thinking I'm probably going to try the edge cases a little bit, like with consistency. I will just try to write to the hub directly and then showcase that. I mean, I think it's just easier to understand, easier to showcase. It's much harder to fake erase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you guys have any further, like any other ideas of priority you think, or maybe just suggestions of how I can make it easier to implement versus more understandable, feel free to tell me, and or just add comments here or something, whatever. But I think that's it. So I let's wait for the things to merge, and then I think I will just try to run through this demo script a couple of times, see where I get stuck, and probably you'll hear what I'm doing. So
sure,
that's all I have. That's all I have. Any other things? We should wrap up. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Bye-bye.